What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
Only by Fulton Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class!
Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello and welcome along to the latest instalment of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, and I've done this wrong again, haven't I? After Burnley's impressive win. There you go, you can see me. After Burnley's impressive win against Norwich City on Friday. But that wasn't the best result of the weekend. Plymouth Argyle absolutely doing us a massive favour. And as Andrew says in the comments, just let me find that comment back again. Where's it gone now? Well, this is awful. There it is. Plymouth, as Andy Duckworth says in the comments, let me caress them big green balls. And indeed, let me caress them big green army balls. A big shout out to Plymouth Argyle. We are absolutely made up with that result. Thank you so much. But of course, nothing is done yet. Let's not get too carried away. We are sitting very, very pretty at the minute in second. 5 points clear with 4 games left. It looks good. But it's not done yet. Don't worry, I'm not on my own. I just thought I'd bring myself in, try and make the show look a little bit more professional. Me talking first and doing the intro before I bring everybody in. But I'm pleased to introduce, as usual, we've got Gary, we've got Andrew, and we've got somebody making the debut today. Now, as I could already see his face in the little things at the bottom, it's an awful camera angle, but hopefully he'll learn. We've got DJ Dave. How we doing, mate?
Good, mate.
I'm all right, pal. Sorry about the camera. It's the front camera. It's just don't know what's wrong with it. It's like all foggy.
I think it's because you're holding your phone like that. I presume it's on the phone rather than like that. But, mate, don't worry. Right. Andrew's first few shows were horrendous as well, but he soon learned, didn't you, mate?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, hamsters got used to it.
Yeah, the hamsters got used to it. But, yeah, let's everybody get your comments coming in. First of all, we've got a new member. Shout out to Ryan becoming a YouTube channel member if you do want to join the Turfcast members scheme, if you will. It's in the description below. You'll see, if you're watching on a handheld device, you'll see a little button that says join. Just press that. You get benefits, or should I say one benefit, including early release of the pre-game show. But you do, of course, get little badges next to your name in the chat. And we are going to start doing more, potentially probably next season. But yeah, all of that will come out in the next few months. Moretti Marus is in the chat. He says, "Hi Joe, saw you at Paddyham yesterday." Now, so mate, you should have come over and said hello. It'd have been great to see you. I would genuinely love to meet you, mate. You've been one of the OGs watching since the early days. Andrew's in the chat, but he's also here. But he says, "Champions again, ole ole." Muzz is in the chat. He says, "Evening, Clarets. We all need to get together to teach Joe some chants for the next watch along." Plymouth score. That's why you're staying down, mate. That's not right. Hardy, give me a harder. Yeah, mate, I didn't know what I was doing. I tried to do a live watch along yesterday when Leeds and Sheffield United played. My streams didn't even work. It was all a bit of a mess, but people told me they liked it. So happy days. Dominic's in the chat. Evening, mate. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Andy's obviously in the chat, as I've already brought one of his comments in. Good to see you, mate. You know we're only messing with what I said on Connor's show the other day. And Ryan is here. Hi, Ryan. Thank you for joining the members, mate. I really appreciate it. Evening, boys, says Martin. A Sunday evening's goal. This is about as good as it gets. And Martin, come on, mate. This is absolute scandalous. I even got the lads early in the chat this time. I pressed go live at 17:58 and I pressed the video at 1800. So I was not late. Maybe 7 seconds late at most, says Muzz. Lee says, massive Easter weekend. Nothing is done yet. Yeah, I agree with that, mate. I do agree with that. It's looking good. It's looking good. And it's not just the Easter weekend that's the big thing. We need to carry it on after that. Obviously, if we beat Watford and then beat Blades, then yeah. But I'm hoping maybe a draw at Watford. I'm not hoping for a draw at Watford, but if we get a draw at Watford, then we can back it up. But the beauty of yesterday's results, or the weekend's results, should I say, means we can lose a game. We could lose a game between now and the end of the season, and it's still in our own hands. And even if we get beat against Blades, it doesn't matter. But I want to go into that game. My main focus now is obviously Good Friday, beat Watford, and then we can go into Easter Monday knowing that even if Blades beat us, it doesn't matter. And that is a brilliant place to be in. And that's why, even though I agree with what Martin said in the chat earlier, was it Martin? No, it was you, weren't it, Lee? I'm literally looking at your comment right now. Then going into that game will be absolutely massive if we can afford to lose it and still go up. Paul Johnson says, good evening, mate. Andrew Turbo says, hello again, all. Martin, come on, lads. I will bang on time. Welcome to the Members Club, Ryan. George is in the chat. Good afternoon here in the US to all of you. Green Army says most. Tony Miller. Evening, Joe. Here we go. Jay Rodriguez. Has Jay just scored or something? I'm not sure. But thank you, everybody, for your comments. Simon Harvey says, good evening, lads. Another great weekend for us. Stuart says, how many beers Joe had Saturday lunchtime? Saturday lunchtime, I don't think I'd had many. It was Friday you're thinking of, I think, when I'd had quite a few. Ginger Alley's in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Good to see everybody. Scott Armstrong's in the chat. Thing what does my head, if we go 2-0 up and part of the bus, granted we got 3 points, but, mate, that first half was fantastic. But let's get into the game. We'll go in screen order. Gary, I'll start with you, mate. Yes, the second half was probably a little bit, what's the best way to describe it? Nervy. But job done in the first half, so no complaints on me if I'm going to be honest with you. But what were your thoughts on that game?
Pretty much the same. I think we'll all say the same, to be honest. That first half should have been maybe 3-4-0 up.
Could have easily been 4-1, couldn't it? Because they had that chance as well.
With that, what was you saying? So they were looking really good. And then I don't know what it was, second half. Well, I'll give you my thoughts after what I was thinking after the game, because I was really frustrated about how we played. How we just I don't know, we weren't pressing as well, we weren't as controlled, so that's what I was thinking. But in hindsight, they've played 3 games in 6 days, so if you think it's second half, they're bound to be lethargic and stuff like that. Parker doesn't make subs, as you well know, so that can have an impact. And even said, I listened to his post-match press conference, and he was basically saying that they played obviously on the Tuesday, rested on the Wednesday. He got them in on Thursday to do some more training, and then they had half an hour to do like prep for the game. So if you're taking all that into consideration, then it's not bad going, and they got the win. So that's the main thing, and it puts us in the driving seat, as you've already mentioned. So.
Yeah, it really, really does. As Ginger Ellis says in the chat, sorry, Dave, when we're in this format, the comments will go over your face. We don't want to be losing any more games. We need top spot. I agree with that, mate. But let's be fair. The top 2 is the most important thing, and that's all I'm concerned about, if I'm going to be honest with you. Mus Trucking says, should we rest a few key players on Monday for risk? Should we rest key players for the Monday game and not risk them playing at Watford? And as I agree with Andy here, mate, Mus, full throttle, get all the points we can, final push. Yeah, if we can go into that Blades game ahead of Blades by 4 points, knowing that if we lose against Blades, it doesn't matter. And also on the flip side of that, knowing if we beat Blades at the turf, then we are promoted in front of them. That would be worth it just for the. I've got nothing against Sheffield United, despite the narrative that Jimmy tries to spin sometimes. I love Jimmy, but he says I hate United when I don't. It would still be good to see us do that in front of Wilder. The meltdown will be a generational, absolutely generational. Andrew, come to you next, mate. Your thoughts on that game, please. And obviously, I know Gary was just saying there about how the first half was so much better than the second, and we're not really sure what happened. If you look at the first half stats here on your screen now, and then compare them to the second half stats there, look at how much better Norwich were than us in that second half. a full 1 XG to our 0.07 in the second half. Compare that to the first half when we had 0.87 to their 0.39. Possession swung in our way in the first half, very much swung in their way in the second half. We did sit back a little bit, didn't we, Andrew? And that second half did become a little bit nervy, but I'm not nitpicking me. It's 3 points and that's all I'm bothered about.
No, like I say, the first half we were absolutely excellent. To a man, I thought we were absolutely brilliant first half. Obviously, they had that one chance through Borges signs, but I thought it would completely. I want to say we dominated in that first half.
We did. It's the right word, mate. We were miles better in that first half. Like Gary said, it could have been 4-0, 4-1.
Yeah, we absolutely battered them that first half, and we were brilliant. Every single player on the pitch was absolutely brilliant. And you look at, like Gary said, that was the third game in the space of 6 days. So for the first half, I'd have half expected them to be a little bit knackered there. But we went on to them straight away and we were fantastic. Then they've come out second half and, you know, it's easy for us to say, oh yeah, we were poor the second half, but they stepped onto us more. They gave us less time on the ball. You know, it was an improvement from Norwich in the second half as much as we played poorer in the second half. But we didn't make it easy for ourselves. And after that goal, I was just glad when we got to the final whistle because it were a nervy last 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it was. You're right. Completely agree with that. And although the stats do say Norwich created more XG than us, obviously XG can be fluctuated in certain points, and that's why some people don't like it. That's fair enough. But what I will say is their goal was like 0.82 XG because it was like literally 2 yards out. So even though the XG says over the course of the game they're creating more than us, that goal obviously skews it very highly in their favour. Dave, come to you, please, mate. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you on the show. Obviously, I've got the pass map on screen now. On the left-hand side is the Burnley one. On the right-hand side is the Norwich one. What I will say is take this with a pinch of salt because these are always sent to me before the subs are made. And obviously, they made quite a massive sub at half-time where they brought Sargent on. And then in the second half, they were much better. So this is essentially just first half. But again, it hammers home how good we were in that first half, doesn't it, Dave?
Yeah, definitely. I thought first half we were brilliant. You know, I echo everyone else's thoughts on it. Just second half, I thought we looked really tired. You know, the three games in a week probably caught up with us. I thought Norwich improved when they brought Sargent on. You know, they had something to aim at a bit more. But definitely the first half, it could have been 3 or 4-1 easily. I was just really, really impressed with us in the first half. Just like somebody else said then, you know, it's we're hanging on at the end, weren't we? So I were happy that we just got over the line and got the win.
Yeah, completely agree. Andy, I'll stick with you, Dave. But Andy Duckworth says it's often like we see stat-wise once a team is chasing / nothing to lose. He says it's not an issue. Do you agree with that, mate? The fact that, you know, we weren't as good in the second half because obviously they were chasing the game?
Well, I mean, I said to my mate when they got the goal, when they got one back, we haven't conceded 2 in a game all season, have we? So
no, not in the league.
I was confident we wouldn't concede again. Like I said, we just looked really tired in the second half. I'd like Parker to change it a little bit earlier than what he does, but obviously he's confident with what we've got, Ante, that started. So he sort of goes with that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Fernandez is a little bit concerned about you, Dave. He says, "Is it foggy in your bedroom?"
Yeah, it's the camera. It's knackered basically. I need to sort because at the front of on the screen where the camera is, it's cracked a bit.
Is
so
it?
I think it's just that.
That'll be what it is. There's a Leeds fan in the chat. You know what I mean? Never mind some fans of the opposition fans in the chat as long as they're being respectful. He says it's going to be a good title race, boys. Don't know about you, mate, and I know some Burnley fans in the chat will disagree with me. We've already had one in the comments saying this, but I am not bothered at this stage about the title. Let's just get promoted. Let's just get in the top 2. If it's at the expense of Sheffield United, then so be it. and then concentrate on the title. But when we get to that stage, then I think it will be a good title race. I think both teams have hit form recently. Leeds did have a bit of a stutter, but they seem to come out the other side of it now. Obviously, getting that impressive win up at Middlesbrough, and then to be fair, Preston offered absolutely nothing yesterday. But Leeds did a job on them, to be fair, and that's all they can do. But I want to talk about the goal, Andrew. I'll come to you first, mate. What a sensational first goal that was from Hannibal. And it's not just Hannibal, it was Cullen as well. So this is where Cullen picks up the ball. You can see it on your screen now. Hannibal's obviously the player sort of like making the run in between the two defenders there. You can see the space between what I believe is the fullback and one of the centre-backs. Hannibal's obviously seen that space there. He's running into it. Cullen's just picked the ball up, turned, seen that run. This is just after he's hit it. So obviously Hannibal is now moved further on. He's exploiting that gap that I mentioned a little bit earlier. And then there's still a lot to do. It's a great pass from Cullen. I'm not going to sit here and say it isn't, because, of course, I think the pass absolutely makes the goal. But Hannibal does very, very well to make that run, to exploit that gap, to get to this position as well. Look at how close the defenders are to him there. Both of them have gone with him. Both of them are putting him under huge pressure. As you said in your fan reaction, Andrew, he's turning here at this point to bring it down on his chest. After he hits it on his chest, he then turns back. I don't know why I'm doing the motion like you can all see me, because nobody can. He then turns back to sort of like chest it back towards goal. And even then, at this point, after he's just hit it, the third defender's come in there. So it's an absolutely sensational goal. And Cullen got all the plaudits, and of course he will. It's a great pass. But Hannibal has a lot of work to do there as well, doesn't he? It's just a great goal all round.
Yeah, it's just, like I say, it's just absolutely brilliant. Like I said in my fan reaction, talking about how Hannibal takes it, like, it's brilliant control on his chest, and then it looks like he's almost like losing balance as he strikes it. So it's a great goal from Hannibal, great technically. But like I said, the move from Cullen, for him to get the ball where he did, and then, you know, to see that move from Hannibal and that pass, to lift it over the top, you know, like, you look at these incredible centre midfielders from the past, like incredible passes of the ball, like I think I said in my fan reaction, like Fabregas, like he saw them sort of passes, and I'm not saying that Cullen's like Fabregas, but like, you know, it was that sort of vision and that sort of pass, and yeah, just absolutely sensational, and made up for Hannibal as well, because, you know, he's had a bit of a roller coaster of a year, so yeah, made up that he's been able to get that goal.
Yeah, completely agree. It's obviously his first goal for Burnley, and what a goal as well. Like I said, Cullen makes a lot of that, but I think Hannibal's contribution's gone a little bit unnoticed because of how good the pass was. When you break it down and look at the parts that Hannibal had to do, look at the space, make the run, exploit that space, obviously have the defenders around him and still have the technical ability to be able to get it down and hit it. As Andy says here in the comments, Hannibal technician, can see he's been through a proper academy. Great belief from both him and Cullen in that goal. Completely agree. Cullen believes that Hannibal can get it down there at that point as well. There's not many players that I would want on the end of that. I'm not going to sit here and pick anyone out and slate anybody, but there's certain players where, you know, I'm thinking if that ball goes to them, it just bounces off them and we don't get the goal. Hannibal was fantastic all weekend. Obviously, we'll get into all weekend. Sorry, acting like he's been playing every week, every day. Sorry, but he was fantastic for that game. And there was a comment earlier about Hannibal and what we do with him, sort of like going forward. But we'll come to that in a minute. Dave, Gary, we'll come to you first, mate. What were your thoughts on that goal? And I'm sure you share Andrew's sentiments and Andy in the comments sentiments of how great of a goal it was from Burnley.
Yeah, totally. Like you said, the pass from Cullen's, well, incredible, but that's what he's been doing week in, week out, to be fair. He's been one of the more standout players. But and then Hannibal is really technically a gifted footballer. I mean, it shows not only in this goal, but obviously throughout the game. It was showing little bits where they'd try to tackle him, he'd just nick it round him, and then win a free kick. You know, they're like little bits like that. So you're an excellent goal, to be fair, and you don't play for both United and Sevilla if you're not very good. So
Yeah,
that's a clue in itself. But I'm wondering why we haven't seen more of it. I know he's had some disciplinary issues, but he's not played as well as that in any other game that I can think of. He has like little moments, but I'm wondering why we've not seen it as consistently, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I've always said it's horses for courses, and to be fair, he's not played that much as well. Claret Al, you're putting words in my mouth there, mate. You are putting words in my mouth. But he also says you couldn't buy a shot from Hannibal, but Friday he had a few goals. Obviously, nothing being said. So obviously something being said. Sorry, but yeah, completely agree. I feel like he was a different player. Maybe the shape was a little bit different, and we've not noticed. Doc Holliday says shout for goal of the season so far. It's definitely up there, mate. It's definitely up there. You could probably argue Fleming at Norwich, Fleming at Blackburn, even though the goal's not that great, it's against Blackburn. I'm trying to think of some other ones off the top of my head.
Roberts against Middlesbrough.
Roberts against Middlesbrough, yeah. Keeper should probably be doing better at that one, if I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, it's a way out.
Fleming volley as well from Brownhill cross. And then there were the Edwards one as well that I liked. The one was like dribbling. His first goal. I think it's his only goal, actually. But I thought that were decent. But it's got to be up there, I think, 100%.
Yeah,
it's just a brilliant goal from as a team goal, isn't it? Those are like individual goals, but this is like a solid team goal. It's just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, completely agree. And interesting, actually. Reese, I like that comment, and I probably will come back to this in a minute. Just want to ask Dave about the goal, and then we'll potentially move on to the atmosphere. But Reese's comment here says, nothing to do with what you're currently talking about, but the atmosphere was much better on Friday. Our fans were really up for it. And you know what? I feel like the difference is, and again, we'll come into it in a minute, is we're starting to believe now. I think that's what it is. We're seeing a team that will run through brick walls for Scott Parker and the fans and the club. And I feel like the fans are starting to believe, and I feel like that's why the atmosphere was so good. I saw a comment a second ago here from Justin. He says, Jimmy is saying that, obviously, Jimmy, those of you that don't know, the Sheffield United fan that does a Blades Ramble, he says, Jimmy is saying that it's playoffs unless they win. Joe, watch Connor's latest short because it's brilliant. I think that's the one he might have sent me on WhatsApp last night, mate, and said, keep this between us. I haven't seen the actual short on anything yet. But if it's what I think it is, then yeah, it is class. But I've just noticed Dave's just dropped out of the things, probably having some internet issues. So what we'll do, we'll bring the lads back in. Hopefully Dave comes back into the show in a minute. I was going to ask him about the goal, but we'll move on actually. And seeing as I've just read Reese's comment out, I'll try and get the comment back. There you go. And lads, while we are thinking about that and thinking about the atmosphere, this is what Scott Parker had to say on the atmosphere from the game on Friday night.
I must mention the stadium tonight. I thought the stadium was absolutely superb. I think it's probably the best it's been, certainly since I've been here, and they've been brilliant all year. But even when they scored that goal at that moment, I felt a real positive energy coming from the stadium. I felt a real energy, which was like, yeah, let's go again. Our reaction after the goal was superb. And I think for large parts of that, it was down to the stadium, to be quite honest with you. I mentioned it many times, Matt. I've been in the arena many times before, and you always get a feeling of a stadium and where your fans are, and sometimes that can have a big effect. Them fans tonight give us that little bit of a push when we needed it most, really, and they were a large part of why we've come out of it with 3 points tonight, really.
Yeah, I know Burnley fans sometimes like to get a bit of stick off. We don't like to get stick, but we get stick off other fans because sometimes the turf can be quiet. And to be fair, I think the majority of Burnley fans won't really argue with that. I think over the last few years, the last time it was a banging atmosphere at the turf, in my opinion, was the year we won the league under company. Preston at home, Blackburn at home, raucous atmospheres, really, really good. But it has been a little bit quiet recently. And Gary, I'll come to you first on this one. Why do you think it was different? Milltown Dingle says there in the comments, totally agree, it did feel different. Scott Parker has said, when Norwich scored, it wasn't a case of the atmosphere started to get toxic. I mean, I can only speak for myself here, but I knew at that moment that the players probably needed a bit of a lift. So I didn't start whinging. I didn't start getting anxious myself. Obviously, I was nervous and stuff. But I was trying to get them through it and trying to shout and scream as much as I can from the family. And there's only so much you can do up there, to be fair. But it did feel different, didn't it, Gary? And why do you think that was?
Yeah, 100%. It's probably a combination of things, to be fair. I think it being a Friday evening plays into that. They're my favourite games anyway, especially when it's at night time in the lights. So I think that plays into it. You've got also a lot of the players that are like G'ing up the fans, doing all this. Like I've seen Brownhill doing it, Pires were doing it. Hannibal pretty much does it every week anyway, so no difference there. But that makes an impact. And then I think, like you said, that the fans are more behind the idea of not only Parker but the team and the tactics and all that kind of stuff, which comes with results. So when you're getting results every week, if we know that they're at 1 goal down, but we've never conceded 2, then you're going to be more confident and you're not going to be as frustrated. I think a few games ago, maybe there'd be a missed pass or a big chance that's missed, and then there'd be massive groans across the ground. But I think that's stopped now. That it's all about motivating the players and cheering them on.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I do feel like there was, as I think it was Andy said in the comments earlier, and which he was agreeing with me, to be fair, is the belief, which is kind of what you've touched on there when you said, we've not conceded 2 in a league game all season, so fans probably didn't think it were going to happen again. So that obviously bleeds into that. But Turf Moor under the lights in the sun as well, a nice summer's evening, it's no one's freezing, no one's thinking, for God's sake, why am I here, this is awful. And we've been in great form recently as well, which again comes back to the belief. Andrew, what were your thoughts on the atmosphere then, and why do you think it was a little bit different this time?
Yeah, I still don't think it was perfect, to be honest. Like, I'm going to be quite controversial and critical. Like, it was still good atmosphere at times, but I thought there were moments where it could, there could be a bit more. But I think Norwich fans not really bringing that many helped as well. The fact that we've seen so many teams this season where they've packed out the away end, and the cricket field stand is the best, acoustically for creating an atmosphere. And the fact that they, no disrespect to Norwich, fair play to the ones who came on a Friday night, to come all that way on a Friday night, fair play to you when the match is on Sky. But I think the fact that there weren't as many as them for them to make as much of a noise, that's definitely had an impact. I think an early goal, that has an impact, especially when it was someone like Hannibal, where everyone's eager for him to get his first goal. I think the fact that, we knew that a win had put us back to the top of the league again, albeit even if it was just for, overnight till Leeds got their game played. But yeah, I think it was all a mixture of things. But I think, honestly, the belief now is, and I've been banging on about it for ages, that we're going to win the league. But the belief's spreading that we actually could do it. So yeah, I think it's just a mixture of everything, but we need it not to be a one-off, and we need it to carry on into the Sheffield United game. Yeah,
definitely. I think obviously the results at Watford will help that. If we go down to Vicarage Road, get a win there, knowing that a win, depending on other results against Blades, could actually see us promoted against them. Then the atmosphere should be good against them. It definitely will, because they'll bring a lot. It's not far, obviously, is Sheffield. We always fill their away end. They always fill ours. Both Sheffield clubs, big clubs with good followings. There's a Leeds fan. I presume, Alistair, you're a Leeds fan. Apologies if you're not. I hope that isn't offensive to you if you're not a Leeds fan. But it says, is there an argument that with your goalkeeper and defence, you might be better equipped for the Prem than Leeds? We'll just take a little bit of a detour here and ask this question to the lads, and obviously get your comments coming in as well. But actually, before we do this, I'm going to start doing more of this shameless YouTuber plug-in thing. If you are watching now, we've got over 150 people watching. I'm not sure how many's on YouTube and how many's on Facebook, but if you're watching, no matter what stream you're watching it on, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, just hit a like, please. And if you're not subscribed, do subscribe already, or follow us on Facebook if you're watching there, because the likes and the comments really help the YouTube algorithm. Then more people can see it, we get more views, and the channel continues to grow. So please, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. If you're watching on Facebook, give us a like, and please subscribe or follow no matter what platform you're watching on. But just going back to the question from Alistair, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that last name, mate. So apologies, you are just called Alistair from now on in this chat. I'll come to you first, Gary. It's interesting, this one, because I think Burnley are better equipped defensively than Leeds for Premier League football, but Leeds are better equipped going forward. for Premier League football than what Burnley are. Leeds will unlock more defences in the Premier League next season, and that's if the teams stay the same, and they won't do. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, by the way. If Burnley go up and if Leeds go up, let's not sit here and say we're definitely both going up, because anything can happen. If you could put the Burnley defence and the Leeds sort of like forward play in one team, it would be a very, very good team that would have a very good chance of staying up. But another argument with that is Trafford probably won't be at Burnley next season. And there's a good chance, CJ Egan-Riley and maybe even Esteve might have left Burnley next season. I think if we go up, them two stay. But I do personally think that even if we go up, Trafford leaves. But Gary, your thoughts on that comment from Alistair, please, mate? Do you agree with it?
Well, the stats don't lie. We've only conceded, 14 now? 13? So, in isolation, the defence is fit for the Premier League. But as you said, it depends who we keep hold of. I'm imagining Trafford leaves. I think Steve leaves. I know he's in that Egan Riley stuff, whether he's signing his contract or not, but maybe he's had second thoughts. So in isolation, the defence, as it is now, would be fit for the Premier League if they were to get up. And Leeds' best player will be Pascal Stroud, and he's been linked heavily with moving away. So, but then, like you said, their attacks are completely different to ours. They play completely different tactics. So, in terms of a team, it's hard to say. And then also Leeds, I'm sure it won't be controversial in saying, are a much bigger club than Burnley, so they can attract a wider range of players compared to Burnley. So it's a really tough question to answer, to be honest. Sounds like I've avoided it, but it's basically in isolation. If they were both playing a game now in the Premier League, in the Premier League now they're playing games, then the stats would show that Burnley would have a better defence. But would they score as many goals? Probably not, nowhere near, to be honest. So
yeah, and it's one of them as well. Leeds, if they go up, they're backed by the 49ers, they're backed by Red Bull, that they can spend a lot of money. We did spend a lot of money last time. It didn't necessarily work. The recruitment policy wasn't great. We signed a few duds. We signed a few decent players as well in the likes of Sander Berg. That probably stops there. In terms of Premier League football. It's one of them. You can't just throw loads of money at it either, which, Leeds will. But they need to get the recruitment right as well. And that's a debate for the summer, really. But go on, Gary.
I was just going to say, I think they will probably go for it, Leeds, because they've just had, they've got Red Bull sponsorship now, haven't they? So
yeah,
I think they'll do what we tried to do, where you go up, spend 100 and odd million, try to stay up, and then if you can stay up, like Brighton, like Forest, all them kind of teams like Brentford, then you're in the driving seat. You're getting 100 and odd million every year guaranteed. So I think they'll probably go for it. Will it work? I'm not too sure, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, the notorious BJB says, very rare to see a squad dismantled on the way up. I'm quietly hopeful we keep our better players if we're promoted. Keeping that defensive solidity will be crucial to survival next season. Completely agree, but I feel like it's pretty much guaranteed that Trafford leaves. There was a comment earlier, and this would really stick the knife into the Blades, but if Trafford left and obviously Blades stayed down, Michael Cooper, as Jimmy calls him, would be a fantastic acquisition. And they bought him for 2 million in the summer. We could go in and say, right, here's 10, you're 5x your money. And then we could sell Trafford for 40. Or even Johansson at Stoke, somebody like that. He obviously they're staying down, could even be going down. So we could still have a decent keeper. Not as good as Trafford, admittedly. But hopefully they will grow with the team as well. Andrew, your thoughts on what we're talking about there in terms of sort of like Burnley's defensive stability in the Premier League? Do you think it'd translate to the big league?
Yeah, I think obviously, like say, if we would stick with the team that we've got now, if we were, like Gary said, playing Premier League games now, I think we've got a lot more chance than Leeds. Obviously, our goalkeeper doesn't have poppadoms for hands at first, so.
To be fair, Darlow doesn't either. Darlow played well against Preston.
No, that's true. But, like we said last season, Trafford will be England's number one at some point. So, I think if we have the team that we've got now, defensively, we're so much better. I think as well, we look so much more solid than we were under Company. But again, we know that things are going to change. We know that the chances are Trafford won't be a Burnley player next season. Obviously, the rest of the back four. I think honestly, if we go up, we manage to keep Steve and Egan Riley, but it's all on that.
Yeah, it's Brownhill as well, isn't it? I mean, I know there's some people in the chat that wouldn't mind Brownhill leaving. I mean, I disagree with that. But obviously, there's Brownhill out of contract as well, so that's another player leaving potentially.
Yeah, like me personally, I'd keep Brownhill even if it was just on another 1 year deal. But lots of things are going to change in the summer. We're just hopefully not going to have as big a fire sale as we had last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get there first. Let's win the league, and then we can start looking at who we can replace people with.
Yeah, you can tell we're battling with Leeds for the league title because there's a lot of Leeds fans in the chat tonight, which we haven't had at pretty much any point all season, other than when we played Leeds. So again, as I always say, I don't mind other fans of opposition teams in the chat, just as long as you're all respectful. Big Mally says, "Do you think that it's done, Joe?" Absolutely not, mate. It's not over till the fat lady sings. That's probably an outdated stereotype that you're not allowed to say anymore in 2025, but I've said it anyway. If Burnley and Leeds both win on Good Friday, then it should be done. Leeds have got Oxford, I think, on Good Friday. Obviously, we have Watford away. Leeds are away at Oxford. Blades have Cardiff at home. So if we lose at Watford, Blades win against Cardiff, which, not beyond the realms of possibility, and Leeds bottle it to Oxford, then it's right back on. It's 2 points is your gap again, and obviously Burnley and Blades play each other. That's the thing that's good for Leeds. Burnley and Blades have got to play each other, so somebody's dropping points on Easter Monday. I think Leeds go up. Do I think we probably go up as well? Yes, but it's definitely not done. But I've been saying that we'd finish second for about 2, 3, 4 months, where a lot of people were saying, we need to get used to the playoffs now. Cause the LUFC says, just saying on keepers, I know that we are open to hearing offers for Meslier, say 20 million. I tell you what, mate, if you get 20 million for Meslier, then you've done very well. That's all I'll say. Joey Shilling says, I can see Wilder royally losing his head at the turf. He royally lost it yesterday, mate. So nothing new there, isn't it? Bacon Teeth Cake, to be fair, says we've still got Bayer to come back. Completely agree with that. And I do sometimes forget about Jordan. He's one of the only Burnley players that did used to watch the shows, by the way. I don't know if he still watches them. He's got a lot of time on his hands, so he might do. My only worry with Jordan Bayer is, as good as he was, and he was, in my opinion, the best defender in the league in that championship season, is he spent so long out, had such a bad injury. Is he going to be the same player? We don't know, and I won't like to speculate it and say no. Just keep your comments coming in. Ginger Valley says, I think Parker will make wholesale changes if we go up. I don't think he needs to, and I'd be surprised if he did. We just need to add a striker. I know it's easier said than done, and we've been saying it for years. If we added a striker to this team, like there's a lot of Leeds fans in the chat as well, and I'd like to hear their thoughts on boring Burnley, because it does tend to come from Leeds fans more than anybody else. Probably because of that game at the turf, where, to be fair, it was an awful game, and we stunk the gaff out to try and sort of like stop Leeds from scoring. Obviously, the highest goal scorers in the league this season haven't scored against Burnley, so we obviously did something right. But Burnley have scored the same amount of goals as Sheffield United and Sunderland. There's only 4 teams in this division that have scored more goals than Burnley. So yes, a striker would be good, and yes, a lot of these 0-0s will turn into 1s or even 2-0s, and we'd be a lot better. But it's not something that we are desperate for, I don't think, as much as people make out. But a striker would definitely help. So I don't think he needs to make wholesale changes. I just feel like he if we bring a striker in, but it's easier said than done. What are your thoughts on that, Gary? I've noticed that Andrew's frozen and he's tried to come back in and out of the there we go. I think that's better of the video. So I'll just come to you on that. Do you think we make big changes if we go up, or do you just think we make 1 or 2?
Well, I was just thinking then, a lot of the players that we signed, I don't think Parker really wants, which sounds stupid. But if you imagine the winter window, you had like the week of just buying players. Then you had the summer window where they sold like 20 odd players, and then he's got a week to bring in players that are available. So I think they were more of a, we'll have him because he's free, not necessarily, I really want this player. I think the only one that maybe fits that mould would be Josh Loren, because he's been after him for many, many years. Even when he were at Bournemouth, I think you're after him. So I think other players, like Sarmiento, I don't think he comes back personally.
Yeah, true.
So I think, like I said,
True,
I
we do
think
have some loans as well. Yeah, like you
I
said.
think a lot of the players were just what's the best way to put it? But just because they were available, not because he really wanted them, which sounds stupid because they were playing really well. But I bet if he asked him, he'd never say this, of course. But if he could choose, he maybe not would have signed some of the players that we've got. Like John Joe Shelby, for example. I mean, there's seen something about him today where he's leaving potentially. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one. That I mean, it was only brought in until the end of the season anyway, and then he got a career-ending, season-ending injury around what in that Preston game, I think. And then they've released a statement today. Well, not a statement, sorry. It's come out from Turkish media today that he's leaving at the end of the season. I thought he was leaving at the end of the season anyway, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. I didn't think we'd see him in a Burnley shirt again. Speaking of strikers, Bell Differ says I'd 100% take Sargent at Burnley. I agree with that, and I was asked about this by Connor and Jimmy before when we met up at the Brotherhood, a pub in Manchester. And although I said I would prefer somebody with Premier League experience rather than Sargent who hasn't had it, Sargent 100% improves Burnley, and he would be a good addition to Burnley.
He's been in the Premier League, Sargent, I think.
Has he? I didn't think he'd
Yeah,
been in
he's
for that
only
long.
there for like one season.
Yeah,
though.
I thought so. Yeah, but
It'd be
we'll see.
him if he chooses from Championship. Him or Isidore, I think they're the best two strikers. But then Sargent's
Isidore, as Andy says, there would be class. And Diddy at Leicester says Ross and Andy. I'm probably going to do. That's probably sort of like the stuff we'll be doing in the summer. The sort of like shows we'll be doing in the summer where we discuss transfers. But I do like to sort of like have the debates here every now and then, and it is nice to see certain people bring ideas into the chat. I always appreciate it when people bring ideas in the chat. Milltown Dingle has become a new member. Remember, press the join button underneath. If you're watching on a handheld device now, it just says join. You become a Turfcast YouTube channel member. For that, you get benefits such as the Turfcast badge next to your name in the chat and early release of the pre-game show and more benefits to come next season. If you can't do that, I understand money's tight. I mean, it's not expensive, to be fair. It's only $2.99 a month. But if money's tight, and fair enough, completely understand it, just hit the like button because that helps massively as well. Right, I want to go into individuals. The comments are coming thick and fast. I want to get into individuals. I'll come to you first, Andrew, because you've been sitting there patiently for quite some time. I wasn't sure whether you'd frozen again. I'm not going to lie, but I did see you move a little bit a second ago. Oh, there he is. I could ask him a question next. Individuals. Let's talk about. We'll get into man of the match soon. But I want to talk. I thought the midfield was brilliant, and I do feel like the midfield recently has looked a little lethargic. And I'm not criticising Josh Loren at all. I think he's been decent recently, but I feel like dropping Loren and bringing in Hannibal at the weekend was an absolute masterstroke. I thought Hannibal played very, very well. I thought Cullen played very, very well. A lot of people are sleeping on Brownhill, but I still thought Brownhill played well as well. He just probably wasn't as good as the likes of Cullen and Hannibal in this particular game. But let's start with Hannibal, Andrew. Your thoughts on Hannibal, please, mate.
Absolutely phenomenal. I think he's been unfortunate not to be involved as much this season as we probably would have thought he would have done. Like Gary said before, I don't know if that's to do with disciplinary issues or this, that, and the other. But yeah, he for me, he was absolutely fantastic, and the goal topped it off for me. But yeah, I honestly think that after the Norwich game, it's his place to lose now. Like I say, Laurent's done well since he's come in. But yeah, he has been absolutely superb. And I know we're probably going to go on to man of the match later on, but he's definitely a good shout for it for how well he played.
Yeah, Moggy BFC says quality goal from Hannibal. I don't think you're in the chat when we discussed it earlier, mate. The numbers have rocketed up recently, to be fair. When we were discussing Hannibal's goal, there was probably about 50% of the amount of people that are watching now. But we were discussing it, and it's a brilliant move from Hannibal, a brilliant run, brilliant space exploitation, if that's even a saying. And, the way he brought it down on his chest was fantastic, and to slot it in the net as well. So a real goal from Hannibal and a brilliant move from Burnley, weren't it?
Yeah, and just as well, like before you move on, I forgot about where he's hit the post. That was a great chance, and I don't know about from where you're sat, Jimmy Mack, and where you're sat, Gary, but where I'm sat, you had like a perfect view of it, and as it fell to him, just thought, "Go on, hit it, just hit it,"
Yeah.
and he hit it just slightly late, and it just smashed off post. But yeah, absolutely made up for him, and I thought, we could have got another couple of goals on Friday night. We were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being picky, he probably should have scored that other one. If we're being super picky, but I agree, Hannibal was fantastic. Bacon TK, welcome to the Members Club, mate. Really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for that. That means you will now get access to a little badge next to your name in the chat, as I've said, and the pre-game show ahead of Watford will be out early on early release for you. Gary, we'll come to you next, mate. Your thoughts on Hannibal and his performance at the weekend, please, mate?
Yeah, pretty much what Andrew says. Sorry, copying, but arguably man of the match. What I will say is he needs to kick on now and then show that performance in the Watford game. It's no good being good for 1 or 2 games a season. You need to be like Cullen, where you pretty much when you're a 7 every week and then you can be an 8 or a 9 every other week. That's what his strength is. So he needs to really kick on now. Take that performance. Develop, which I think Scott Parker's good for him for that. I think he really gets him. I think he understands him, and he plays that position, Parker, when he was a player, of course. But yeah, he needs to kick on now. Can't be just a 1-game wonder. You got to be consistent, and then that's how you really show that you're going to be starting every week.
Yeah, just to quickly sort of like move on a little bit from this, I will come back to it because I want to discuss Cullen. Bell Dipper says, would you guys re-sign Fleming? He's ours, mate. He will be a Burnley player next season. It was an obligation, so he will 100% be a Burnley player next season. As Andy does say there in the comments, to be fair. He is a Burnley player.
Only if they go up, though, I think?
No, I think Anthony's only if we go up. I think Fleming is an obligation regardless, and I think Humphreys... I don't know exactly what Humphreys was. I think Humphreys was an option, but I promise you now, Humphreys will be a Burnley player next year. He's sorted it. The fact that he's injured and out for the season, which he said himself in the hospitality lounge at the weekend, but yet hasn't gone back to Chelsea, tells you that he's not going back to Chelsea. And I have heard myself off certain people that a deal has been done, and he will be a Burnley player next season.
I think Edwards the same as well, isn't he? We have the
Edwards is if we go up. I think Edwards is an obligation if we go up. I think. Yeah. So some of these might be wrong, so apologies if they are. But anyway, I want to get back to the individuals because I know you need to go at 7, Gary. So I don't want to. I want to get things done before you have to go, and anything else that we chat about afterwards can be done with me and Andrew. Cullen, he's the other standout performer for me at the weekend. Absolutely fantastic, but we expect it from Cullen these days, don't we? He is absolutely superb, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's some Leeds fans in the chat will disagree. There's no Blades fans in the chat because obviously the internet's been turned off in Sheffield this weekend. But I think he's the best sort of like defensive midfielder in the division. Absolutely superb. He was superb again Friday.
Yeah. Again, I mean, he's just consistent plays. And when he's a 7 out of 10 every week, and when he's not a 7, he's a 8 or a 9. So you can't beat anything like that. And when he plays well, we play well. He's springing balls around. I mean, he's nowhere near the ability of Busquets, of course, but it reminds me of that. It reminds me of like Paul Scholes, that kind of player. The best midfield would be him and then Ayo Tanaka because he's ridiculous. So
yeah, he's class. Tanaka's probably a little bit more further forward, to be fair. But yeah, Tanaka's class. But yeah, Cullen, superb again. Obviously, fantastic pass for the goal. Pulls the strings. I've said it before, like you just said it there, Gary. When he plays well, we play well. Kean D and BFC says Cullen is the best midfielder in the champ. Vinny Souza, who? Rob Duckworth says Sir Josh Cullen, the glue, consistently 9 out of 10. Andy Duckworth says Souza can't stay fit. Good player, but low value, I fear, due to fitness. And he also goes on to say, Cullen also a frigging good egg. He's a legend. Dominic Hall says, Cullen and DeFore in the midfield too will be dreaming. Oh, mate, don't. That would be absolutely fantastic. Harry says, that's something I shouldn't have clicked on. I don't know. Muzz Trucking says, Cullen is a giant in midfield despite his size. Yeah, I think obviously that's what I mean about Leeds fans. Yeah, I could understand why you'd say Ampadu. He's also class. But as I said, Tanaka is a little bit further forward, as Martin Stevenson sort of likes to say. Tanaka is class, but he doesn't have that big tackle Cullen has, but probably a better passer, to be fair. Cullen in the double pivot or the pivot. Tanaka a little bit further forward would be a fantastic midfield. But anyway, I'll come to you, Andrew. Your thoughts on Cullen and his performance at the weekend, please, mate?
He's just a Rolls Royce, isn't he? Like, Gary summed it up absolutely perfect there. he gives you a 7 out of 10 every single week, and the weeks that he doesn't give you a 7 out of 10, he gives you an 8 or a 9. And there's not much more to say on him. He's absolutely brilliant, and yeah, we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for Cullen this season. He's absolutely superb.
Yeah, I think my only criticism with Cullen is that when we go into the Prem, the game can pass him by a little bit. But let's get there again. Hopefully, he's learned from his experience there last time. Joe Clark says, "What gets me about Cullen is he's genuinely so good in the air defensively despite his size. Similar to what I think it was Muzz was saying earlier, being a giant in midfield despite his size." Martin Canning says, "As an Ireland fan, I'm surprised to see Cullen is rated so highly. He's way off international level. To be honest, Tanaka is a lot better, in my opinion. Two completely different players, like I've said, mate. But I do agree with that. He doesn't tend to do as well at international level. Kind of going on what I just said there about when he's in the Premier League, international level, even with Ireland, because of the opposition you're playing against, he's a similar sort of level in a lot of the games to Premier League, so I can understand that." George says, "Cullen is a great footballer and just pure class." I think for me, he's just a very, 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 very good Championship player, if not one of the best midfielders in the Championship, but the Premier League just gets a little bit too far forward than him. Burnley 87, he comments this on every single stream, on every single video, says Lucas Pires, and that brings me on nicely to the next person I want to talk about. Andrew Pires got a lot of stick when he first came into the team and Humphries got injured. Some of it was justified. Some of it was a little bit over the top. But recently, he has been absolutely superb. A little nitpick on Pires. I thought he lost his man probably a little bit too easily for the goal. But other than that, I thought he was superb again. And I think Burnley fans really are starting to like Pires now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we saw how good he was at the first game of the season against Luton with those 2 assists. And I think we all had high expectations of him after that, which he never sort of really lived up to. And then obviously Humphries coming in, he's a in England under-21s player, absolutely fantastic. He's done brilliant for us this season, and then unfortunately he's got injured. So I think there's always going to be a little bit of hesitation when you see someone so good get injured and whoever's coming in to replace him. But I feel like Pires is a little bit like Foster in terms of he's a confidence player, and he started to grow into the team and started to do a little bit better. And since he's actually had a consistent run, I think he's been brilliant. He still has his moments, but we were just talking how amazing Cullen is, and Cullen has his moments. We talk about Hannibal, he has his moments. Everyone does. So he does still have his moments, but overall, he's definitely, he's come on leaps and bounds, and I'm not overly concerned about if we get in the Premier League, about who's our left back, as long as we've got Pires and Humphries as options.
Yeah, Pires will be here. Humphries will be here next season. So I think again, left back could be an issue next season because obviously Humphries isn't a natural left back, but he's done very well when he's played at left back. Pires might get found out again in the Prem, but let's cross that bridge if and when we come to it. There's currently a poll on our YouTube channel if you're watching there. I'm just looking at the figures. There's 163 watching on YouTube now, so make sure you get your vote in. So that means there is around 30 watching on Facebook as well. So the numbers are quite good at the minute. But do Burnley get promoted from here? Yes or no? Get your votes in, and we'll read the results out in a little bit. Gary, we'll come to you on Pires because you were one of the ones that were quite critical about him at the start on this channel, anyway. Which is why we bring you on, mate. You're outspoken and don't hide behind it, which is what I absolutely love about you. But again, you said recently, he's playing very, very well at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was justified though. To be fair,
no, I agree.
It was very hit and miss. Come leaps and bounds, like Andrew said. But I would be interested to see what would happen if Anthony wasn't playing in front of him, because I think he helps him out a lot. Running back, offering that defensive assurance. I don't think let's just say he was a right back, and you had him and Edwards. That would never work. That's why Roberts and Edwards works, because Roberts can do his bit while Edwards goes off and does his flair. Don't really defend much, but I don't think it'd really work if you took Anthony out. So And then if we do get up, I don't think Pires will be of the quality, which sounds ridiculous to say, but I don't think he will be. I don't think he's got the physical attributes that you need.
Yeah. Let's cross that bridge, like I said, when we get
Of
to it.
course.
But Rob Duckworth says, Pires has the tools. Think about Vitino, how long it took for him to settle. Got to give these guys time to adjust to the Championship. He's decent and improving. Twin Cities Claret says, the idea that Humphries says Pires was a day/night situation was always silly. Humphries better on balance, but Pires slightly better on offence. Humphries on defence. I would agree with that, to be fair, mate. Right. Man of the matches, let's get your comments in. Just put the player. I will try and read every single one of them out. If you're a fan of the opposition, I don't know, if you watch the game, give us a sensible answer, please, in the comments. But let me know your man of the matches, please. I think, didn't last time, we had a full house, didn't we, last time? I think it was 3 again, wasn't it,
for
last
Steve,
time?
I think it was
I have a feeling that it's going to be a full house this time. And I think I went first last time, so I'm not going to do that to you two again. I will go with Andrew, because you're looking at me very funny. Andrew, your man of the match, please, mate.
I'm not sure it's going to be a full house because mine was Hannibal. I thought it was.
Okay.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Cullen, absolutely brilliant as he always is, but I just thought Hannibal was completely on it. Obviously he got the goal. He had the chance where he's hit the post. He made some nice runs, and yeah, I just thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yep, fair enough. I'll answer second then. Not to put pressure on Gary. Gary, stick with who you want to go with, mate. But what I will say is, my man of the match is Hannibal Medri. I thought he was superb. He was energetic. He, he pressed well. He scored the goal. He probably should have got a second goal. He just drags us up the pitch, and he was just superb. Everything he did was absolutely superb. I thought Hannibal was fantastic, and I think, in my opinion, he is the well-deserved man of the match and a well-deserved full house man of the match. If Gary goes for him, no pressure, Gary. Who's your man of the match, please, mate?
Well, I was surprised when Andrew said he doesn't think it'll be a full house, because mine's Hannibal too. I thought that.
There we go.
But he was absolutely probably his best game that he's played for
Easily.
Burnley. He was doing all the defensive work, but then he's got the technical, winning free kicks, doing a little bit of dribbling, scored the goal. Obviously, should have maybe scored 2 if you're being super critical, but. So he's winning it, but close second will be maybe Cullen. I thought Esteve was ridiculous as always. That's the thing; these players are like ridiculous every week, and then you just forget, you just expect it, and then when they're not a 9 out of 10, you don't give them man of the match. But Hannibal for me, so full house.
Yep, completely agree. Full house from the Turfcast panel. But what do the Turfcast viewers think? Dominic Hall. Hannibal, Cian Dean, Cullen, Rob Darville, Hannibal, Simon Harvey, Hannibal, Adele, hello from the other side, says Hannibal. Mark says Cullen, Michael Gorton says Cullen, Sam Lane, Hannibal, Martin Stevenson says Duffy for that deflection. You know what, mate? If I could have anybody, literally anybody on the pitch, if I could have chosen any player to have a goal go in off his arse, it's Duffy. That was incredibly satisfying, you horse fiddling bastard. So thank you for that, Shane. George says, my fan reaction would have said Hannibal. Yeah, feel free to send one in next time, mate. Completely agree. I understand why you didn't send it in the end. But again, anyone watching that watches the show regularly and wants to start contributing with some fan reactions, just reach out to us on Twitter. We're always looking for more people. Mus Trucking says, man of the match, very difficult. Even split between Cullen and Hannibal. Jack O'Callaghan says Cullen. Fernandez says Hannibal. By the way, Andrew, I don't know if you saw the comment earlier. Fernandez says he's the guy that shakes your hand in the park view every single week. So
yeah, I was going to say, Fernandez, we're not doing park view at the minute anymore. So come and meet us in Dyche.
There we go. If you want to go and see Andrew pre-match, go to the Dyche. If you want to see me, come to the fan zone. Martin Stevenson says Cullen. Rick Williams says Cullen. 98% pass completion. Richard Taylor says Cullen. Clara Al says Cullen. Twin City says Hannibal. Ginger Alley says Hannibal. Rob Duckworth's a little bit behind. Doc Holiday says Hannibal. Lee Richards says Hannibal. Moggy BFC says Cullen. Man of the match Hannibal says Andrew. Hannibal says Lee. Ross says Scott Parker. Paul Johnson says Cullen for me. Hannibal says Mark. Savione? Savione. It's got Savione. I don't know. Apologies, Mark, for butchering your name. Jordan Rushford says Esteve was superb, man of the match. I've got no problem with anybody giving it to Esteve. I feel like he does get overlooked sometimes because you just expect him to play every single week. And to be fair to Jordan, there was some moments where it looked like Sargent would be in, and then Hannibal just mopped it up. And not Hannibal, Esteve. And people just forget about that because you just expect him to doing it every single week. Dominic Hall says Shane Duffy's arse. John Corbett says Cullen for the pass. If I remember rightly, Big Bally's a Leeds fan. So even Leeds fans are starting to appreciate how good Cullen is now. Maybe Jimmy will get his name right next time he mentions him and not call him Joe Cullen. Gary Murgatroyd says, I'd say Hannibal by a whisker. Cullen was class. His assist alone was worthy, but all round Hannibal covered the whole pitch. Bell Differs says, man of the match has to be the weather. Hey, Andrew. To be fair, the weather's been class recently, hasn't it, Andrew?
It were cracking flags, weren't it? So yeah, that'll be my second one.
Yeah, Sam Lane says Esteve is always good. Savione Mark says, I don't think we win that without Hannibal's energy and movement. I'd agree with that, mate. Neil Hazelwood says Cannibal, but it was definitely due a goal. Any more coming in? I think that's all the man of the matches. Apologies if I've missed it. Jesus Christ, Bacon TK, you did not need to do this. A donation from new member Bacon TK, who has just spent £8 on the channel because he joined as a member earlier and has just sent us a £5 super chat. So thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. Gary, I know you need to go. Feel free to shoot off at any point. But if you can stay for an extra 5-10 minutes, then again, feel free. But Bacon TK, it's a serious question. Can you explain Trezor, class player, but what's happening? Mental health, injured, why play for under 21s in a cup game? Ultimately, mate, I don't know. I have been told before by people well connected at the club that he doesn't apply himself correctly in training. I've stopped putting stuff like this on Twitter now because people just give me grief for it. I'm just regurgitating the stuff that I get told. He doesn't apply himself in training. He doesn't particularly want to be here. But I have also heard since then that there are some medical reasons as to why he's not playing. But I'm not sure whether that's just a club story, the club leaking something. Because, again, it came from somebody well connected at the club who then told other people. So I weren't sure if the club were trying to get it out to try and disguise it. And somebody who's worked at a club before, not Burnley, who worked at a football club before, I know clubs do that. They'll put stories out there to try and detract attention away from what's really happening. Ultimately, I don't know, mate. So I'll send you a refund because ultimately I have no idea. I can't answer your question, mate. But it's definitely a little bit bizarre, isn't it? Like he's playing in the cup game, he's playing in the under-21s, and then we don't see him again. I think at the minute it's a fitness issue because he's not played for so long. Other than that, but yeah, I've heard he's got an injury / health issue, and I've also heard that he doesn't particularly apply himself in training. He's consistently late and things like that. But again, that's not me being ITK or anything like that. I don't want to get in trouble again and have the club tell people to unfollow me again. So I will just put it out there saying like I do not know. Ultimately, mate, I don't know, unfortunately. Must Trucking, though, says he's a lazy bastard. Say what you think, mate. So who's Trezor, says Dom. Bacon Tea Cake said, I wanted a straight answer is all I wanted because I don't know all good. Yeah, I'm only messing, mate. But anyway, like I said earlier in the show, for those of you that missed it, it wasn't just Burnley that had a fantastic result this weekend in terms of the championship promotion race. Obviously, Leeds had a good one as well. But the most important result of the season for the weekend, should I say, for Burnley was that Plymouth Argyle managed to beat Sheffield United. Can you see it on your screen? No, you can't. Yes, you can now. Fantastic result for Burnley. And that leaves Burnley 5 points clear. In second, Sheffield United are now 5 points away in third. Obviously, Sheffield United took the lead in this one. Obviously, some of you will have seen the watch-along that we did. Great goal from Raksaki, to be fair. But what I will say is Sheffield United, I thought were poor. I thought they were very, very poor. Look at those stats. In that first half, they were both awful. That's the first half. 0.06 XG. I know Harry's in the chat. He'll tell me that XG is a load of rubbish. But 0.06 XG for Sheffield United in that game. Obviously, they went in 1-0 up. 0.03 from Plymouth. Awful. And then when they get the goal, I thought Sheffield United would kick on, get a second, strangle the life out of Plymouth, potentially get a third. But no, I wouldn't say they sat back, but they didn't really take advantage of Plymouth. And ultimately, they got what they deserved and lost the match. And I think that now, like I said earlier in the chat, it isn't done. But it's looking very, very good for Burnley and, of course, Leeds. And it's looking very, very bleak for Blades. Can Blades beat Cardiff at home on Good Friday and then beat Burnley at the Turf on Easter Monday? Of course they can. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, though, so that's why it's not done. Can Burnley go to Watford and lose and then lose at home to Sheffield United at the Turf 3 days later? Of course they can. But for it to turn around now, Blades will have to win every single game between now and the end of the season, including coming to Turf Moor, where they haven't lost us haven't lost a game all season, and hoping that we lose 2 between now and the end of the season. We've lost 2 in 43 games so far. Are we going to lose 2 in the next 4? Probably not so sure. I don't think we do. Do I think Burnley go up? Yes. Is it done? No. But Gary, we'll come to you first, please, mate, just in case you need to shoot off at any point. Looking good, isn't it, mate? Thank you, Plymouth Argyle. It's a shame Preston North End couldn't do us a favour, and I say that in the nicest possible way, obviously with a lot of Leeds fans in the chat, but it always was going to be a comfortable win for Leeds, but we also thought it was going to be a comfortable win for Blades as well, didn't we? But that's the state of the league table. Now, Burnley on 88 points in second, 5 points ahead of Sheffield United in third, who did have 2 points deducted, to be fair, but even with them 2 points back, they would still be third, and Leeds United, of course, top. Looking good, innit, Gary?
Yeah, it is looking good. I was last night figuring out all the different permutations, the different results, the different, what if we win, what if they draw, all that kind of stuff. But the job just needs to be win on Friday, put the pressure on, because they play after us, both teams, I think. Leeds play at 5:30, and then Sheffield United play at 8. I think that's right. I might be wrong, getting it mixed up.
Is that right? Okay, did not know that.
But we play at 3, and then them 2 play after. I might have got the order mixed up, but one of them plays at 5:30, one of them plays at 8 for definite. So that puts pressure on them. So we need to win on Friday. But even in the Sheffield United game, even if we draw, then we're in the driving seat. Even if it's a draw against Sheffield United, because obviously we're taking 2 points from them, and then we've got a 4 superior goal difference. So although it's 5, it's more like 6.
Yeah.
So
I always say it's more like 5.5, because obviously if they win 2 and we lose the next 2, they go above us. But I see your point, yeah. And another thing, as Jordan mentions, Wilder, his head has completely come off. Headbutting. Well, I don't think he did headbutt somebody. I think that was just a rumour. But started on Plymouth players for celebrating in front of the Sheffield United end. You know what? I actually quite like Wilder. Unpopular opinion. I actually quite like him because he's a fan like the rest of us. But the flip side of being a fan in charge of your own club means that when things like this happen, you lose your head. But he's brought it all on himself, I think. He's made a rod for his own back. When they beat Sheffield Wednesday, he said, shove your metrics up your arse to the interviewer. Like, we've won 2 massive games in the city, and now the metrics are proving that they're not as good as what they thought they were, and the metrics were right all along. So I actually quite like him, but his head has completely come off, and he acted like an absolute thug yesterday, to be fair. An absolute
before
idiot.
the Plymouth game as well, he were rallying up the other manager.
Exactly.
So
what did he say? The bottom of the league for a reason.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Like, why are you putting unnecessary pressure on your own team? It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. And as Jordan makes a good point there, you can think what you want about Parker. He's exactly the right sort of character you want representing your club. And it's not even about representing the club for me at this point, Jordan. It's about he's the right character you want at this moment. Like, as a player, if you see your manager losing his head, you're going to then start losing your head. If you look to your gaffer and you see Scott Parker driving into work in probably what's a Mercedes or, a big Land Rover Discovery, comes out with his suave turtleneck on, he just calmly walks into the ground with his latte. Morning, lads. Whereas Wilder probably steams in it convertible, does a handbrake turn into a parking spot, throws something on the floor, spits on the floor, shouts and screams, can't believe we've gone third. But what I'm trying to say is, obviously, you look at your figurehead, you see calm, cool, collected. You're then cool, calm, collected, aren't you, Andrew?
Yeah. Like I said, Parker's just... I know that, he had the mick taken out of him at the start of the season with, his, the sort of clothes that he wears and his nice, little nice haircut. But he's completely exactly what you want at this moment in time.
Yeah.
You know, looking at Wilder and like you say, he lost his head yesterday after the Plymouth match. You'd go back to when they played Sheff Wednesday. After that, he were in pub singing, songs about
Sausage
Sheffield
roll and
Wednesday
stuff like
manager.
that. Yeah. See,
Like,
that side of it's good. But then again, even as a player, like when you see that, you must be thinking,
you don't want that from your manager. Like, if we went down Burnley and Scott Parker were in mode or something singing,
Lord.
we won the league at Ewood and no name ever and stuff, you'd be a bit like, come on, mate, like this, you need to be professional. If it one of the players, fair enough, but it's a little bit, strange. So I would 100%, I'm more than happy with Parker, and Wilder's he's lost his head, but gammon head. Basically.
Ham sandwich head. Neil Hazelwood sent us some stars on Facebook. Thank you so much, Neil. Support is massively appreciated. Paul Johnson said the Watford game is massive. Phil Wilcox says Cardiff have to win Friday. Massive game for them. It is. It really is. There was somebody that said in the chat earlier, will you be doing any more watch-alongs? Obviously, I can't really do Burnley watch-alongs because I go on the matches. I haven't got tickets for QPR because, as I said on Twitter, I have to wait until Thursday to get tickets for my little boy because he doesn't have enough points. And as I waited for Thursday, tickets already got sold out. I'm going to try and still get tickets somehow. If somebody there's 172 people watching, please everybody make a note of this. If you see any tickets going for me and my little boy, ideally 4 as well, so my dad and one of his granddaughters can come along. Fantastic. I am looking at hospitality as well, but I don't really want to do it. But if a win at QPR means we win the league, I'll do everything I can to be there. Everything I can. The only times I might be doing watch-alongs, again, between now and the end of the season, is if Leeds and Blades play when we're not playing. And even though Gary just revealed that Leeds and Blades are playing a little bit later after us, I'm down at Watford, so I'll be driving back at that point, so I won't be able to do one, unfortunately. But if, for example, Leeds and Blades are playing at a different time, I will do another hate watch, as I called it.
Go on. If you don't get to QPR, and there is something riding on that game, you should do an official Turfcast one.
Yeah, but I would do. But like I said, if we have to win that game to go up, I'll sit in Ormond or something, or sit in hospitality. And if in the end I can't, then I might do a watch along. But like you saw how I like to come across on here as not professional, but sort of like proper. Like let's have a debate, let's talk about it. Whereas on these watch alongs, it's a completely different side to me. I act like a 14-year-old kid when I'm watching the football. So I don't necessarily want too many people seeing that, if I'm honest. And also, this microphone can't handle me shouting too loud, as you saw at the weekend when Plymouth scored. But yeah, Dominic loves that. He says, great idea, Andrew. George says, do it. If not, have one of the other members that are part of the podcast do it instead. Potentially, mate. Andrew, you could be up for that. I did say to Turf Morehouse if he don't want to do his own channel anymore, which doesn't seem to do anymore if we see Dan. Yeah, to be fair, I'm talking rubbish, aren't I? I wasn't professional at all in the slightest. Let's get a Turfcast box, says Clark. I'd love that, mate, but what are they, like 80 grand a year? Probably more than that. Do you think the club... That's what I mean. If I celebrate too loudly... Yeah, I get kicked. I don't think the club would appreciate me having a box, if I'm going to be honest with you. Dominic Hall says, nothing wrong with showing passion, Joe. It's what it's all about. Never apologise for being a fan. That's what I mean. That's what it is. It's passion in them moments, but I want to come across as sort of like not this sort of like shouty, screamy YouTuber, even though I hate that term, like a lot of other people are. Right, we've done about an hour 15, so we'll start wrapping it up. We've done the man of the match. We've done everything else. Before we do wrap it up, is there anything else that you boys want to discuss? Maybe someone in the comments wants to quickly ask us something that we can quickly answer. But Andrew, Gary, is there anything that we haven't discussed that's something that you maybe want to discuss very quickly?
Did anyone see the incident at half-time when the lads were warming up and Barnes booted the ball at the groundskeeper?
No, I did not.
Only Ashley Barnes could do it, but I think it were him and Worrell were kicking the ball to each other. And he lifted it, booted it, and the lads who walking around with the rakes when they're hitting the grass. He was hitting the grass. It smashed against the stick, and it full on whacked him in the face.
Ooh, did it?
And Barnes full on ran over, like proper, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, they got the medics over and stuff.
Oh, did they?
And
No, I completely missed this. I don't go downstairs at half time either. I just sit there, stand up eating a Mars bar. So I'm surprised I missed it.
Yeah, and then him and Worrell were walking off, and like you could see, it was like they were trying not to laugh, but at the same time, like you could tell he felt so bad. It was so good though, and fair play to him for running straight over and getting medic. But
like you say, only Ashley Barnes can do it. The only thing I remember from half time is the fact that they brought these what's it called? The light show back on. And I remember
it's good there. I like it, mate.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I just think at half time it's probably not the right time to do it, especially when players are warming up. The players all stopped in the tracks. I remember seeing Nathan Redmond sort of like doing that. Cousin Nathan.
What I did notice at half time is the Norwich players didn't warm up at all.
Sargent did. Sargent were warming up.
Only because he were coming on. But if you look at Burnley, the entire sub bench is warming up, doing little drills just in case. But I think that just shows the difference in the clubs. One's like ready to go just in case, and then one's like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fair enough. Claret Owl says Turfcast meetup as there's no footy in the summer. You know what, mate? I've thought of once or twice of doing a live podcast. But 100%, if I did a live podcast, 3 people would turn up and I'd be well embarrassed. And one of them would be my dad and the other one would be my son. And I'd have to charge them for tickets because if only 3 people turn up, I'm charging them. Yeah, you know what? I won't mind doing something like that, but we'd have to see. It'd probably take a lot of planning and stuff. Yeah. Right, I guess we'll leave it there then, guys. So... as usual, if you've joined the stream late, nobody said it in the comments before Bell Differ's comment saying, nobody's joined late, Joe. I think it's you that says it, Bell. Yeah, Lee, hopefully see you down at Watford. I'm going down, looking forward to it, as I mentioned already. But if you've joined the stream late, then don't worry. When I press end stream now, it stays on Facebook and on YouTube to watch back at your... Oh, God, yeah, sorry, Rob. This is why I'm unprofessional. End poll. So the poll has finished. Where are the answers? 97% of people who voted on this. We had 79 votes. 97% of people answered the question, do Burnley get promoted from here? Yes. 97% of people think Burnley will get promoted from here. And we've had Leeds fans in the chat as well. Not many Blades fans this week for some reason. Can't really put my finger on why. But only 2%. Hold on, it should be 3%, that should it? YouTube have worked it out wrong. So 3% of people have said, no, Burnley will not get promoted.
That's all in Southwood, though. That 3% all from Southwood.
Or that Cullen on Twitter that I had to do at this weekend, who were whinging at full time. I don't know if you saw it. I put like 3 tweets out saying, like, get in and all this. And he's like, that second half for a joke. And then I ignored it. Then he put, what about that second half? And I put, who were the man of the match, everybody? And then he put, all the Norwich players from that second half. And I said, Colin, bore off, mate. Like, he's probably put it on 3 different accounts. But yeah, Burnley, we were superb in the first half. To be fair to Colin, we weren't great in that second half. But glass half full, please, mate. But yeah, sorry. Let's get back into the end sort of like thing where I do to wrap up. If you join the stream late, you feel free. Once I press end stream, it starts, it stays on YouTube and on Facebook for you to watch back on demand whenever you want. And I will also be editing the podcast and putting it out pretty much instantly. So that should be up within the next hour or so, which will be there for your morning commute to work tomorrow. Or if you're not at work at the minute or you're on Easter holidays, just watch it doing some stuff around the house, walking the dog, something like that. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks to Andrew. Thanks to Gary. Thanks to Dave for earlier. He did leave abruptly. He has messaged me saying he had some issues with his phone. Thank you to everybody commenting. Good stream as well, to be fair, because I've had 3 new members and 2 donations. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next time.